sawa ang mga pangako.
I have no regrets because I did not know the consequences at the time. I had to discharge the responsibility as I saw it then.
Laging napapako sa pagtitiwala ay pumapatay. Nakakapagod din ang umasa, lalo't ang bituka ay walang laman. Napakailap sa mahirap ang hustisya, lalo't bansa'y hawak lang ng ilan. Nag-people power one, nag-people power two, ang buhay natin di pa rin nagbabago. Nag-people power one.
To me, as long as there is life, there is still hope. But the hope is beginning to be less and less. And unless there is a reversal of policies, the globalization, in meaningful governance, I don't see how we can improve the lot of the nation. Even our fundamental law states that sovereignty resides in the people, and therefore the people is the last Supreme Court. If after everything fails, it is legitimate to rebel, whether peacefully, as in EDSA 1 and EDSA 2, or in a bloody manner, that's beside the point. But the rebel has the right to do so if everything in his perception and in reality fails.
Nag-people power one, nag-people power
EDSA 1 was principally motivated for the restoration of freedom. The corruption and the abuses, injustices went with it, but principally fired by the yearning for freedom, which was suppressed for since 1972 to 1986. In the first EDSA, the restoration of freedom was obtained, and they implemented some good measures to give meaning to the freedom. But the government of Cory was hampered by the fact that there were still overtones of the martial law era, and there were 7 coup attempts. So she was preoccupied with the stifling of the coup attempts, and therefore the reorientation of the military, the values of freedom, responsibilities that should have come with having restored democracy were not laid aside, but sort of shunted, and therefore the freedom itself, restoration of freedom without the concomitant responsibilities, lost the luster that was supposed to accompany the meaning of EDSA 1.
People power one, nag-people power two.
The EDSA 2, on the other hand, was motivated more by the yearning for governance, correct governance, implying no corruption or mitigated corruption, and values, restoration of values of the Filipino. EDSA 2, well, somebody likened it to a woman, our government or our nation, that has been raped several times. And the hope was that EDSA 2 would give meaning to no more rapes, no more misgovernance, no more unmitigated graft and corruption. Unfortunately, the perception is that the rape continued, and therefore the meaning of EDSA DOS was lost. The vision of EDSA 2 was, as I said earlier, was to restore good governance and fight injustice and corruption. But the events proved me wrong in many instances. And to that extent, it is not regret, but it's the consequence of what happened, that we could have prevented, we did not. Maybe that's where the nation went wrong.
Kahit nag-EDSA sa 3, kahit mag-EDSA sa 4.
The cry of the people, because of their sentiments that they are poor, not because they're poor, but because the opportunities to have access to knowledge and to opportunities were denied them. They do not have access to credit, no access to technology, no access to opportunities for employment. That was why EDSA 3, so-called, was a manifestation of that. And I am saddened by the fact that the grounds for the EDSA, so-called EDSA 3 are still there.
Ngunit hindi pa rin tayo natututo.
The system of protesting and then taking action is bolstered by the two EDSAs. But in a sense, it is also a minus, because where did it take us? As I said, in EDSA 1, it was somehow mitigated the efforts of the administration for reorientation, removal of mitigating, lessening corruption, were diverted or diluted by the fact that instead of reorienting the military, they tried to take over the state. So there was failure in that regard. The failure of EDSA 2 to live up to the goals is compounded by the fact that the elections may not have proven to be meaningful as a vehicle for change. So in that sense, I would say that the reason for the EDSA 1 and EDSA 2 are fundamentally sound. They are there already, enshrined in the Constitution. People having the last power to decide for themselves that if all avenues for change prove to be meaningless, then take to the streets. But the question is, what if taking to the streets prove failures just the same, as EDSA 1 and EDSA 2 seem to have proven?
Leader ng nasyon, kahit nag-EDSA 3, kahit mag-EDSA 4, ang buhay natin di pa rin magbabago. Kahit mag-people power, tayo ang talo. Hanggat hindi tayo natututo.